What's up, summoners? King Blair here. Today, we're going to be talking about the current banner hero, Flan, and whether or not you should pull for her, as well as the artifacts, since artifacts now are actually in the shop and you're able to buy them with the powder. So if you liked the video and want to see more, make sure you like, subscribe, and join the Discord server, link down in the description. We're going to be doing so much crazy stuff, so make sure you subscribe to be updated on all that stuff, such as the guild, future tournaments, and just really fun stuff and streams, including tonight's stream. So make sure you're subscribed for all of those and in the Discord to be updated. But alright, enough about that. Let's get to what you came here for. Flan. So as always, I love to start the videos with a summary so you understand where I'm coming from. And we can talk later on why I think certain ways. So overall, summary on Flan, whether or not you should pull for her. I'm going to say pass for me personally, because how she is right now is not too great. She's not that strong. She's not going to be making a huge meta impact. And there's other units that do her job, but either better or more consistently. She still has some really cool, unique things about her. And if you're a cleave player, it's definitely a fun option that you can use. She is amazing as a waifu though. So like her waifu potential is definitely there. She looks drop dead gorgeous, and if you want to use her, she is definitely usable, right? I'm not going to say she's absolutely like, you can't use her, unusable hero, right? You can definitely use her. She's not going to be meta defining. She's just a decent unit, right? And let's see why. Why am I saying this? Why do I not think she's that insane? So first, as always, let's start with the background, with the stats. So her base speed is actually pretty good at 115. It's a lot higher than a lot of different decreased defensors. It's a lot higher than Tywin, right? Her attack doesn't really matter because she's not really doing almost any attack. Her health and defense are honestly a little bit on the low side, but her effectiveness is very high, which does make her easier to build. And as you guys will know, she's a support ranger, right? So if you're if you're a cleave player and you like how she looks and how her design is, you can definitely use her, right? So I don't want you guys to feel like it's like, oh, this unit's absolute trash, it's unusable. She's not great, but she's definitely usable, and there are scenarios which she can definitely shine. She has some things that are also very unique. As far as the imprint, you can get her even more effectiveness if you decide to pull multiple copies, which makes her just extremely easy to build. Just make fast and high effectiveness. It's all she really needs. But you most likely are going to be using this imprint to give your team attack, so that way you can cleave properly with her and do extra damage. Pretty standard of supports to give attack percentage to the team, because they'll make doing her job a lot easier for you to cleave, right? So let's talk about the design. Alright, before we get to the skills, let's talk about the sign. Can I just say, she looks drop dead freaking gorgeous. I'm going to be doing 10 summons at the end, just because I pray I get her. A, because I'm a collector, and B, because she's a waifu, bro. She's SSS tier waifu. Look at this idle animation, the way she's holding her gun, the way the little chat box is cupping up. Look at this. This is so much attention to detail. Like, she's getting all this stuff. The way she stands with such poise. The outfit. Just everything about her looks amazing. The skill animations are some of the best animations I've seen in this game. In terms of animation, she has it all. She's a top tier waifu. No questions asked. But then let's get to the skills, which is why I'm like, why? Why? Such amazing art on a unit that doesn't really do that much. S1, strips. 70% chance. Not that great, right? Who else has this? Emil Haste has the same passive, the same S1, but has 100% chance to strip. Tywin has this exact same passive, but has an exclusive equipment that allows him to strip 2 buffs instead of just 1. Arrowell, a 3-star, has this exact same S1, but does 2 buffs just inherently, right? So it's not that great. It's not crazy, right? It's kind of mediocre. You can soul burn it, which I don't know why they put the soul burn here to strip 2 buffs. Make it 100% chance. But it doesn't even ignore effect resistance. Y'all realize this, right? This doesn't even ignore effect resistance. It just increases the chance of it to 100. You still have that 15% chance that you will just miss the strip. So it's just terrible. Like, her S1 is super mediocre, right? So already not looking too hot, right? That's already not looking too hot for her. The soul burn is kind of weird. It's not really doesn't fit with the rest of the kit. And the S1. What is nice about this is it does allow you to use her in Asimec Hunt, and we'll talk about that later on. Now, the S2, super unique. I think it's really cool, but it's not enough, and there's an inherent problem with crit hit damage buff. So this skill, oh, also let's see the animations. This gun animation, like, look at that. She takes a pose, and she's like, what? Blammo! Boom, boom! Oh, that is so cool! Dude, her animations are so good! I could watch her all day, honestly. Just for the waifu material, I'm probably gonna pull for her. But it's just so cool, dude! Like, this looks so good! But the S2, it's a single target buff, so that's something you guys have to realize. Single target buff increases combat readiness. I believe this goes up to 40%, right? So increases combat readiness by 40% and gives increased greater attack. So what are my problems with this skill in particular? First, the cooldown. It's 3 turns. You have a unit that oxlots that not only gives 100% effect resist, 100% combat readiness, but also gives attack buff, right? And it's on a 2-turn cooldown. So this skill is already on a pretty long cooldown. 3 turns is a pretty long cooldown. You have to realize this is not a short cooldown. And Oxlot does attack buff. She doesn't give attack buff. Tywin gives the same amount of combat readiness, but Tywin gives attack buff and crit buff. And now you're thinking, okay, but she gives critical hit damage buff, which is really, really strong because it gives you an extra 50% crit hit damage. The only thing is this doesn't overcap. So if you have a unit that already has over 300 crit hit damage, let's say they have 310 crit hit damage, you're only really getting 40% crit hit damage. And in a cleave team, you most likely will already have that 350 crit damage, right? So it's kind of like, compared to Oxlots, compared to Tywin that gets 2 buffs, compared to all these other heroes that give these different buffs, it's kind of mediocre, right? It's still 40%, which is a really nice push, and it's still a really unique buff that definitely adds a lot of damage. And if you're able to get attack buff as well as crit hit damage buff, you can do some pretty cool stuff, right? But as of right now, it's kind of mediocre because you can't even overcap, right? So that's kind of upsetting. And as well as the cooldown being 3 turns, makes you not be able to spam it, which again, it hurts. It hurts a lot because it takes away a lot of viability in different against different teams. And now, last but not least, the S3. Now, this is the one that I think is probably the most disappointing out of all the skills for many, many, many reasons, right? So the S3, what it does is it's essentially an AoE decreased defense that applies unhealable. What's good and what's bad? So there's some things that are amazing about this skill that I don't want to play down because it's actually a pretty big deal, right? This skill does not hit the opponent. That has a good and a bad. The good is the fact that it doesn't hit the opponent means that you are able to land debuffs on units like Rylet. You're able to land debuffs on units like Mursa. You're able to not care about elements because even if she does this on an earth unit, it's not hitting them, so you're most likely to hit them. There's no chance for you to miss the skill with decreased hit chance, right? That's good. That's amazing. That honestly, when I first read the skill, I was really excited, but then I saw the rest of the kit and I was like, that's not that great anymore. Where is this bad? Where this is bad is that it doesn't have a strip, which is normal, right? A lot of these don't have a strips, but the problem with her is it forces you to bring a stripper, right? So when you compare her to a unit like Tywin, Tywin has a very similar S3. She adds an extra effect of unhealable, but she's gonna have the same problem as Tywin. The other thing is it doesn't allow you to set up into CDOM. So if you don't have a CDOM, you can't really set up into her that easily. So it forces you to bring a strip, and you can't set up into CDOM. So that part is bad. The other part is the cooldown on this. 5-turn cooldown. That's so long. What this means is you can't realistically use this in like a control team because 5-turn cooldown is way too long, right? So you can't use this in different teams. You can't use it as like a decreased defensor in PvE reliably because 5-turn cooldown, that's nuts. That is so much freaking time. That's way too long. 5 turns is way too long. So that's the bad with this skill. But the animation, again, y'all, look at this animation. This animation just looks like it's gonna do so much. But all it's doing is really just decrease defensing and applying unhealable. And now the other part. The problem with all decreased defensors and decreased defense cleaves. What is their biggest problem? You can tell by this sandbag. Can you tell who we didn't land a decreased defense on? this sandbag. If this was a Royal Light, you just lost the match. Right? So that's a huge disadvantage. Tywin already has this problem. But the thing is, between Tywin and Flan, Tywin gets an extra turn, Flan doesn't. So while Tywin may miss that decreased defense, Tywin can get an extra turn with a soul burn and push up an ally and give them attack and create hit chance. Flan can't even do that. Flan cannot give the buff right after she does the decreased defense. You're forced to take one or the other. That is absolutely crushing. The fact that she can miss the decreased defense, absolutely crushing. The fact that she doesn't push C-Dom, absolutely crushing. The fact that she doesn't strip requires you to bring a stripper with her for it to work properly. Again, not good. It really, really hurts her chances of being a viable unit. So where can you use her? Right? For PvE, the only PvE I really see her on is Asimach Hunt. If you turn off her skills, this is actually a really good skill for Asimach Hunt, right? But there's other units that do this. Emil Haze does this but better. So it's like, you can just use other units. And if you manage to debuffs properly, you can also turn on the skills and she's able to apply the S3 and the S2. So that's cool. And there's some stages where it's pretty nice, right? There are some stages in Abyss and here and there in some hunts where unhealable is really good. And the decreased defense is really good. And the fact that it's just a hit, it's really good. So there are some PvE scenarios where you can actually use her. As far as PvP, it is unrealistic for you to bring her to RTA because no one's gonna let you set her up. There is too much setup required for Flan to work properly in RTA unless you have godlike gear or just get the perfect draft through and your opponent doesn't ban it. Because again, she doesn't set up into C-Dom. You can simply just ban the Camarines booster. She doesn't do any damage. She doesn't get the push up and doesn't get an extra turn to go to the push-up, and it doesn't overcap. Again, a lot of inherent flaws that really, 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 really hurt her. Which is why she's not realistic for RTA. For Arena, she's a really good option. No, not really good, but a solid option for Cleese, right? Again, as we mentioned, it's really nice to use this against units like Rylet, where you if they don't have immunity. That's the other thing. If they have immunity and you miss on Rylet with your Bazaar, then you're just lost, right? Because you're not going to hit the Rylet with this. If you miss the decreased defense on Rylet, you lose, right? So she's a decent option against Cleave. She can work. I'm not trying to hype her down at all. Like, she's not that great, but she can definitely work. If you like her, if you think she's a waifu, if you love how she looks, you can definitely make her work. You can definitely fit her in some of your teams, and you never know. The other thing is that I am pretty certain they will give her a buff in the future. There's almost no way they don't buff her. With a certain certainty, I can say that she'll get a buff, whether it's an EE or just a straight up buff in the future, because people like her so much that people will ask for her to get buffed. And she's not doing too hot right now. She just doesn't do enough. When compared to units like Tywin is just better than her right now and brings more to the table. And he's already not getting used that often. Right? So already Tywin, who's a really good unit, doesn't see as much play as Flan. So if you really want to do a Bazaar Cleave and don't have a Tywin, she's actually a really good option for you. And there's a really good chance that they will buff her in the future. So if you are a free-to-play player and you have limited resources, I would tell you to skip this banner. I don't think it's worth using your bookmarks right now on Flan unless you're a Cleave player and have a ton of resources. If you're a free-to-play player and you don't have that many resources, I don't recommend you pull for Flan unless you just love the way she looks and you want to just have her for being a collector purposes, right? In the future, I do expect her to get a buff, but that's not going to be for a very long time. So if you're banking on the buff, you may be waiting for a very long time, at least a month, unless they release something earlier. So it will take a while before you can even use her Flan. So as much as it pains me to say, as much as she's an amazing waifu and looks great and is dummy thick, it's most likely going to be a skip. I'm only going to do a 50 summon for her. Because if I get her, I get her. If I don't, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. She's not doing much in the meta. She only kind of helps Cleave, and I already have Tywin. So if you don't have Tywin and you like Cleave and you want to have fun with her, definitely pull for her. But all in all, she's just okay. But let's get to the summons. Maybe we can get her. I'll talk about the artifact while we do the summons. The artifact is actually pretty bonkers. So I'll talk about the artifact after the summons, right? So we got Corvus, and I think that's all we're gonna get. Oh, we got an artifact too. That's actually pretty good. So we got decent. We didn't pull for her. We didn't pull the artifact. It'd be like that sometimes. But that's it. I'm not gonna spend any more summons on her, which sucks because I really like the way she looks. But she's just not doing enough for me to warrant using my bookmarks. As far as the artifact, I do want to touch on it really, really fast. I know I almost closed the video without talking about it. But Unseen Observer, this artifact is actually really good, but only for very specific units. This artifact is really good for Celeste and Iseria and Yuna. Those 3 archers. So that's the only 3. So if you have a Yuna, this artifact is a godsend for Yuna. It actually gives her the opportunity to actually generate souls, which is amazing. And the fact that it gives her extra combat readiness is really, really nice. This artifact is really good for Celeste. If you're trying to speed contest with Celeste, you can also get some souls to be able to soul burn and have some pretty nice damage. And then for Iseria, this is probably one of the Iseria is going to be one of her best artifacts. Because this with Iseria means you can Dark Corvus turn 1. I don't know, let's sink in. If you have Iseria and you have Dark Corvus, you probably want to pick up this artifact to do some dummy combos. So I think it's a really good artifact, but it only benefits very specific units. Right? So, really good artifact. Consider picking up if you have an Iseria. But that is all I actually have for you guys today. It's a very disappointing video, but she's just very meh. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. And I will see y'all next time. Peace.